Well, God bless each one of you. In this video medium, I can't see you, but I'm so glad you're there. And we are at part 3 of our 9-week series through the Old Testament book of 1 Samuel. I love 1 Samuel. It's one of my favorites, and trust you enjoy the series so far. Let's just dive right into the text. We're going to pick it up in 1 Samuel chapter 7. Samuel continued as Israel's leader all the days of his life. And from year to year, he went on a circuit. He was like a circuit riding preacher. He went on a circuit from Bethel to Gilgal to Mizpah, these places in Israel, judging Israel in all those places. So he was considered one of the judges. 1 Samuel is preceded by the book of Judges in the Old Testament. And the book of Judges represents a period of anywhere from 200 to 400 years between the death of some great leaders like Moses and Joshua and the coming of the kings of Israel. And Samuel comes right here. Here's where Samuel steps in to end this season of the judges, where they weren't just like judges in a courtroom, they were military and civic leaders that God raised up. There's 12 judges in the book of Judges. Samuel now comes in following that period, and we're going to see today this history-changing moment in which Israel starts adopting actual kings that lead them. So let's see how this works out. When Samuel grew old, he appointed his sons as Israel's leaders. The name of his firstborn was Joel, the name of the second Abijah, and they served in a place called Beersheba. Beersheba still exists as a city to the south, some distance of Jerusalem. But the problem was that his sons did not follow Samuel's ways. We're not told why exactly. We have some hints that maybe in all of his ministry, all of his leadership over Israel during numbers of years, Samuel maybe neglected his family. We don't know. I know parents who have not neglected their families and their kids still make stupid decisions. But his sons didn't follow his ways. There was something broke down in the investment on Samuel's part in the next generation. And to what degree that was Samuel's fault, we don't know. But all we know was that it became known around the country that Samuel was God's man. He was a godly man. And his sons were just reprobates. And they didn't follow in his ways. In fact, it goes on to say they turned aside after dishonest gain. They accepted bribes. And they perverted justice. So these guys had no sense of living out what's right and wrong. They were very self-absorbed. They got what they could. They used their position as leaders in Israel together to basically exploit the people and get what they could for themselves. It distresses me that there are so few people, even today, that can handle the temptations of both power and money. And it has an incredibly corrupting effect. Jesus warned us of that. And certainly, whether, again, Samuel was at fault or not, we don't know, but his sons did not follow in his ways. Instead, money and power and the ability to exploit people and there be no consequences, all of this caught up to him. So when Samuel grew old, he appointed his sons as leaders. But his sons did not follow his ways. So all the elders of Israel gathered together and came to Samuel at Ramah. And they said to him, "You are old, and your sons," there it is, "they do not follow your ways." So obviously these were the elders in Israel, and this was common knowledge. We've got a problem. We've got a succession problem here. It would have been natural for Samuel's sons to take over by the way things would work through family lines, but it broke down. So their solution, they're coming with a solution. When I've supervised people in churches and ministries, I'm always glad when people don't only come with the problem, but they come with a suggested solution. They came with a suggested solution. Appoint a king. Appoint a king to lead us. That's what we need. We need a king. And then we're going to be like all the other nations. You know, we have these skirmishes, these military conflicts with other countries and other people groups. They all have kings. We don't have kings. We just have these judges, these leaders. They keep turning over. Like we need a king so that we can be just like the world does things. Well, Samuel, of course, is going to be distressed about this. When they said, verse 6 of chapter 8, when they said, give us a king, this displeased Samuel. So Samuel's pretty upset. So he prayed to the Lord. Why would this displease Samuel? Probably they feel like they're blaming Samuel for the fact that his boys are not competent or qualified to lead Israel. And maybe he's taking it very personally. So he prayed to the Lord. And you always ought to do that when you take anything personally or otherwise. And the Lord told him, interestingly enough, the Lord said, listen to all that people are saying to you. Listen to them. Listen to the people. It is not you they have rejected. So God's clarifying. He said, there's bigger issues here. It's the condition of their hearts. They have rejected me as their king. God wanted to be their king. And he said, they're rejecting me as their king. This is more than a repudiation on your parenting skills. It's more than a failure of your family to next generationally carry on the kind of leadership you gave. But really, bottom line, God gets them to the bottom line. They're not rejecting you. They're rejecting me. It's actually not bad when you feel rejected by people. When you go to the Lord in prayer, and the Lord sometimes gives us a larger perspective. He puts our eyes on what's happening in their hearts and why they would do something to you like they did. Or he may say, they're not hurting you. The issue is with me that they have in their hearts. So don't over-personalize this issue. So there they go. Samuel goes on and warns them of all the things a king will do to them. So we're just hitting the high points. You may want to read all of this. He talks about here, the kings will conscript you in the army. They'll tax you to death. They'll do all of these oppressive things to you. And the people still wanted a king. So God raises up what will become the first king of Israel. His name is Saul. Kish, Saul's father, had a son named Saul. And he was as handsome a young man as could be found anywhere in Israel. He was also a head taller than anyone else. So, tall, dark, and handsome. That's what he was. So he had this kind of outward natural charisma to him. And when Samuel caught sight of Saul, the Lord said to him, this is the man I spoke to you about. He will govern my people. So God points out to Samuel that Saul is the first king of Israel. He's handsome, he's tall, therefore he'd be likable. He kind of carries a leadership persona to him. He's the one God was preparing. God specifically points Saul out. And there's a backstory here to how Samuel and Saul meet. Saul's looking for the lost donkeys for his father Kish. You can read all that background as well. What's important is where this storyline goes as far as Saul becoming the first king. Samuel says to him when he meets him, as you approach the town that you're heading towards, you'll meet a procession of prophets coming from the high place. So Samuel is saying this to Saul. Who knows what's going through Saul's mind? He had not planned, he thought he was looking for his dad's lost donkeys. He had not planned on becoming the king of Israel. They didn't even have a king. So this must have been a lot to process for Saul. But Samuel says, you're going to see some prophets coming down from the high place with lyres and timbrels, pipes and harps, these musical instruments being played before them, and they will be prophesying. And, get this verse, the Spirit of the Lord will come powerfully upon you. And you too, he wasn't a prophet, Saul, but you too, Saul, when the Spirit comes on you, you will prophesy with them. And you will be changed into a different person. That is stunning. Now we know as the story of Saul goes on, he doesn't submit to God in a way that allows this initial change to take root in his life. But what a powerful statement, because this happens for all of us. When the Spirit of God comes on us, we're changed. We're made different. And Saul's going to have a different sense of his identity, of his direction in life, everything. When the Spirit of God comes on you, you'll be changed into a different person. But when they looked for him, that was Saul, to bring him out and make him now, to crown him the first king, Samuel's in this moment. We find it in chapter 10. But when they looked for Saul, he was not to be found. So they inquired further of the Lord, has the man come here yet? So they're asking the Lord, has Saul arrived yet? And the Lord said, yes, because we never hide from God, right? We can hide from people, but we never hide from God. Yes, he has hidden himself among the supplies. So Saul's insecurities right from the outset become real. I mean, you can be tall, dark, and handsome and have a lot of charisma on the outside, and you can be horrendously insecure on the inside. And is Saul eager to become the first king? No, he's hiding. He's hiding with all his stuff. And they have to go and drag him out. So they ran and brought him out, and he stood among the people, a head taller than any of the others. And Samuel said to all the people, do you see the man the Lord has chosen? There was no one like him among all the people. Then the people shouted, long live the king. And the history of Israel changes. The famous King David, who slew the giant, we'll get to that in 1 Samuel. He'll be the second king. But Saul becomes the very first king. So the end of the judges is now over. Now Israel will see a whole era, centuries long, of king after king after king, the king of the Jews. We get in trouble if we look at this whole story when we fail the next generation. That's where this story started. Samuel's sons did not follow Samuel's ways. And again, we don't make the decisions for the next generation, but we need to be investing the right things. I think all of us, if you're over 40 years old, you ought to be thinking about who under 40 you're investing in, you're mentoring, you're apprenticing, you're befriending, you're volunteering in the youth group to encourage. These, we cannot let the next generation go. And we get in trouble when we want to be like the world. This is how they responded to Samuel's delinquent boys. They said, well, give us a king. Not only so we can have somebody who will do better than your boys, Samuel, but so that we can be just like the world, so we can be just like the other nations. We get in trouble when we want to be like the world rather than being stamped with the uniqueness of who we are, especially as followers of Jesus now, as the community of Christ. Our King is Jesus. We don't lean on necessarily human institutional standards to measure our identity and how we want to do things. And then we get in trouble when our insecurities make our decisions for us. When God has called us and our insecurities call us to be hiding from that call like Saul was. Our hope is submission to Jesus and transformation by his Spirit. I just want to remind you one more time of this amazing verse. The Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon Saul. And Samuel predicted, you will prophesy with them and you will be changed into a different person. The problem is, transformation is possible only as we submit. And in our life with Jesus, our hope is that we stay submitted to Jesus, and then his Spirit can truly transform us and get us where we need to be without our insecurities making all our decisions for us. The Spirit of the Lord will come powerfully upon you, and you will be changed to a different person. May God just touch us and do that. So here are some questions to discuss. What does it mean to want to be like the world? They said, we want a king just like the other nations. What does it mean for us to want to be like the world in a wrong way? And what are some of the things that fuel insecurity in us? That kind of insecurity that just overcame Saul at the beginning. And then what are ways in which we can stay yielded to the work of the Holy Spirit in our lives? May God bless you as you pursue these things today.